All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year, January 12th of 2024. And we're back. So many things happened. We're going to share, try to fit it all in. Um, some really good things, actually, some real positive things. So we're going to share that with you today. And this is Between Two Teachers, and where we talk about education issues, local and national. So my name is Consuelo Lara.
And my name is Madeline Cronenberg. And as always, we're going to begin our episode with an acknowledgement. But this year, 2024, we're going to add to our land acknowledgement. And what we're going to add is a labor and body recognition. And this is in keeping with the labor and body recognition, which has been added to the West Contra Costa school board meetings in addition to their land acknowledgement. This particular one has been that we're going to use and adopt from West Contra Costa is drafted by Dr. Rochelle Rogers Ard, who is a leader in Black education, a Black educational leadership leader, and has written many books and has her own podcast, The Awakening Educator. And so I will start with the labor and body recognition and then do our traditional land acknowledgement. Labor and body recognition. I acknowledge that the burden of environmental exploitation and systemic injustice falls upon the labor of Black and brown bodies in the building of this country and its institutions. I remember that Black and brown people were born and died working this land against their will for generations. I also acknowledge the continued contribution of the labor of survivors over the centuries to today of all immigrant labor, including voluntary, involuntary, trafficked, forced, and undocumented peoples in the building of what we refer to as the United States. That's a very powerful recognition.
Absolutely. Very good.
And I want to thank our new board president who brought that to West Contra Costa. And now I'll go back to our land acknowledgement that we've given for a few years now. We pause to acknowledge that we have gathered on the ancestral territory of Hui Chin, part of the unceded land of the Chochenyo and Karken speaking Muwekma Ohlone people. We remember their continued connection to this region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland, and offer our respect to their elders and all Ohlone people, past and present. And we encourage you to follow the Justice for Muwekma efforts to have the Muwekma people recognized as a tribe, and with the benefits that come from federal recognition, which they have yet to receive for a variety of convoluted political reasons, but it still is an effort to get them that recognition. And we encourage you also to learn more about the Muwekma people in the curriculum that's available on the East Bay Regional Parks District website and on the County Office of Education website.
Yes, there is a link to looking at the about the website of the Office of Education, and then a link to their land acknowledgement resources and all of the information that they have there. Very good.
So be sure that you check that out. I mean, that's really an important thing to do in terms of in particular for new teachers, young teachers, or those of us who didn't have the opportunity to learn our curriculum in recent days, because the older curriculum was very inaccurate and insufficient. And you can find a lot more information on those websites today. So we encourage you to do that as every week.
Yeah.
And we move on into what is happening in education news. And one of the biggest things this last week was Governor Newsom talked about his budget, which for a while looked like it could be very, very problematic for education, because there are all these numbers. The problem with the budget is that it's based on funding that is, you don't know what it's going to be. It's got to do with capital gains and all sorts of numbers that are difficult to predict and that you really don't have any control over in terms of what the income and the revenue will be to the state. So it becomes difficult for school districts and actually any state programs to be certain of how much money they're going to have. So the state has a rainy day fund, and it turned out that the original projections were higher, and that we didn't have that volume of deficit. And the deficit we do have can be covered, at least for the educational programs, pretty much by the rainy day fund. So that's good news. So we're not looking at the horrific cuts that we were thinking we might have to relive as we had back in 2010.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which doesn't mean that people aren't losing it, that there aren't there are many districts that have a lot of problems right now that are for a variety of reasons and that are going to have to make cuts, including West Contra Costa. But it's not what would have happened if we really had the cuts, that if the budget crisis had been what it could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is an update on the culture wars. We mentioned this. This is the issue around transgender disclosure policy, and that is if districts are required to discuss transgender issues with parents. And 99% of the time, that is not going to be a problem. But the times that it is going to be a problem are when the parents and the child are at odds in the child's decision to, or the child's being a transgender child. And to support these children, the law has been put in place, and districts have put policies in place to give them privacy, even against their parents. And that is now being contested in court. That law is being litigated. And this week, the news, it's not finished yet. Case is not finished. But what did happen this week was that Attorney General Bonta entered the case on the side of the district and the child, really. And so we will see what happens next as that goes on, because this is it's a complicated issue. It's a complicated issue because what you're really saying, there are issues around parents' rights here, and each case is going to be different, but the basic issue is whether or not a child has the right. It's the same thing with the pronouns, right? Child has a right to pick their pronouns, and at what point they have a right to do that. So it's about agency.
Yeah. And it would seem to me the priority is, and this has got to be agreed upon, the social emotional well-being of the child. And you would think both parent and, the education, the schools want that. And I think it's necessary to bring in the statistics about bullying or suicide rates or self-harm, all of that around this issue. And to look at that, it's not a good thing all the time to do that. There's just got to be a way to do it to protect the child's social emotional well-being. So it is a complicated issue, but they got to keep the child in the middle of that. We're protecting them.
Right.
And gosh, this is
Right.
really, yeah.
So the interesting thing about this is that these are issues that that we weren't even thinking about, we weren't even looking at until recently, right? So
Yeah.
this whole part of our culture is rising to the top now. And
Yeah.
so there are tensions on both sides, and certainly conservative communities have great difficulty adapting to this.
Yeah.
That's really a part of what's happening.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is where we are with that case, and we'll follow that and let you know what happens as it moves along. But that brings us to some teacher news. And I will just start with a giant shout out I have to the Alameda County Board of Education, or Office of Education, who have instituted a program called PICT, P-I-C-T. And that program is it's called Pipeline to Increase Community Teachers. And we have spoken here a number of times about the lack of substitutes. And it's an issue across America, but it's particularly an issue in schools that are difficult to staff to begin with, right? And the schools that are difficult to staff to begin with certainly have the biggest problems in finding substitutes. And the Pipeline to Increase Community Teachers is a program run out of the Alameda County Board of Education, or Office of Education, to address that. And it's designed to provide school districts with qualified substitutes who are familiar with the community in which they work. You need to be somebody who has 90 college units. And what they will do is they will provide you the opportunity to get support to be successful in the classroom, and they will remove the barriers you would have to that support. So there are payments there. There will be barriers to the kinds of things you'd have to pay for to get a credential. That they will cover the fees, and they will give you mentors.
Yes, yes. That sounds very comprehensive. I mean, they're looking at all the aspects of it. And it sounds great. I think that should be duplicated in other county offices like Contra Costa. Oh,
They absolutely should. They say here, lifting the barriers. Alameda County Office of Education will lift barriers in support of community members by providing the tools and means to be successful. Fingerprinting fees, test prep, pedagogical knowledge, and preparation for working with students are all included.
And those were the challenges. Those are all big challenges. Oh,
right. And this is what people don't realize. These are small amounts of money. This is like other programs where a small amount of money can make a world of difference to people in certain situations.
Yeah.
And that's what this is really responding to. So, in addition, they say, participants who complete the program. So if you go through the program, you could be paid up to $1,250 before you even start as a substitute.
There you go. Very good. Very good. Great incentive.
It's a really good program. So we will follow that, and I hope it does expand into other counties. I mean, there is no reason every county in California couldn't have that.
Oh, absolutely. They should be. They should have that. It's got to be. And yeah, so we'll be following that and sharing that out, especially at my board. We can bring that to their attention also.
All right, Contra Costa is neighboring county, right? This is our neighbor. Alameda is our neighbor.
Don't have to reinvent the wheel. Here's a best practice. So why you wouldn't do it, I don't know. I don't know. Why wouldn't you do this? Very good. All right.
Okay, so tell us about the retired teachers.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. We had our next meeting of our retired teachers, CTA, NEA, retired teachers of West Contra Costa. And boy, we got a lot on our plate. We're very concerned. We were able to meet with HR, which was doctors Sylvia Greenwood and Camille Johnson, and ask all of our questions. We were concerned about teacher shortage, and of course, recruitment. And people were also concerned about a hiring freeze. Is there a hiring freeze? A rumor gets out, oh, everything's, they're not going to hire new people. But in fact, it's limited hiring freeze, but they are not freezing the hiring of teachers.
It's non-classroom positions, right? The non-classroom positions have
non-classroom positions. But there will be layoffs coming in March. So that we've got to keep an eye on those things. And let's see. Oh, yeah. So they are still hiring, and there are many vacancies, long-term subs. I think they said there's about 29 long-term subs in the district right now that are filling the vacancies. And we're halfway through the year. So, no teacher there. And we also talked about the new bill, SB 765, and the changes it makes about how long retirees have to wait before being able to come back and teach. And I believe it starts in July. So it starts in July. There's 30 teachers who are retiring from West Contra Costa. So those teachers only have to wait 6 months, and then they can come back and substitute. And also, I don't know if people know this, I was a little surprised, but West Contra Costa retirees who return to teaching or substituting are paid a per diem rate that is based on their salary at the time of their retirement.
That's only if they're retirees from West Contra Costa.
This district only, West Contra Costa.
This is to keep them here, right? And
Yes.
so if they went to a different district, a neighboring district, they would just get the per diem for that district, whatever that might be, which is never going to be what their retiree per diem was.
Yeah, yeah. So let's see. We talked about recruitment quite a bit, and what programs they have. They're very proud of the residency program. And so they've got several people involved in that. And the residency program is one where it's on the website, and it's where you can get paid for going to school and teaching at the same time and get paid for that. So this residency program is through a grant. So they got to keep that money coming in order to keep that going. But that seems to be very successful. And we also talked.
Is that with Dominican University?
Yes, Dominican. Yes. It used to be Holy Names, but apparently Holy Names is closing.
Yes, yes.
So now they were frantically looking for, but now it's Dominican. So that's the university they're using. And we also talked about the, I mentioned the future teacher clubs and teacher academies, and they're aware of a program called teacher apprenticeships, where they take the high school students and follow them along, and they have an apprenticeship program for them. So we want to look more into that.
Yeah.
That sounds great. And it grew out of the GYO, Grow Your Own. And there are a lot of those programs sprinkled all over the United States.
Right.
And some of them have evolved into this teacher apprenticeship program. So
the focus behind that was the NEA, the National Education Association, right? And I think so there are programs at all different levels because there are people everywhere who recognize this incredible need, right? And so you could start a program at your school or in your district or in your county or in your state.
Yeah. And it's so necessary. I mean, that's where we need to start, is there, because we know they're gonna come back and we know that
Right.
they're gonna, so that's it. And it's funny, they did a shout out to Richmond High School because they said they do a really good job. They've had a few teachers who started out teaching there and they, kept up with them, mentored them and everything to get them to come back. They kind of just did that. That staff is so committed to that school. I tell you, Richmond High is a model for so much. Um, and then we talked a lot about the community schools program. It's, up and running, very successful. And what the community schools thrust is professional development for teachers in the classroom. And there are times when they need to um, release them from the classroom in order to go this professional development. And they could see retired teachers coming in to a site, let's say, and they come in and it's either an afternoon or a morning or so that was their ask of us. And I think it's a great idea. So we're going to put the word out on that one. That just sounds, community schools, of course, we want to support all of them. We've got several in our district. So that was pretty much the gist of it. And our next meeting is going to be Tuesday, February 20th. It's going to be on Zoom. So if anybody wants to know, I could send this episode out to
Absolutely. You could send a link to this episode. Yes.
a link to this episode, and that way everybody will know, where we are. Yeah, and that's
It's an exciting program. I mean, and the difference here is that we're really trying to make it so that this chapter of the CTA retired really supports the classroom teachers in West Contra Costa in a very meaningful, connected way.
Yeah, and there was discussion about Cal RTA, and HR actually was surprised that there's two organizations.
Yeah, everybody's surprised. It's confusing. Yeah.
What? And so we're going to help, clarify that.
Right.
And it's very different. One of the biggest difference, of course, are the benefits that you maintain after you retire. That's really
because
cool.
This is a continuation of your union membership.
Exactly.
Right. And CalRTA is a separate private organization that focuses on retired teachers, but it's not connected to the union.
Right. So there's two. So we're going to make that clear to teachers, especially. Right. Okay. Right. Well, that's a big one.
The final thing I wanted to do is a shout out. I'm going to put this picture on our on the thumbnail. A shout out to a teacher whose work I've looked at for a while, and we just have to give her a shout out. This is a teacher in Japan, and she is an art teacher. And I'm sure there are many other teachers all over the world who do the same thing, but this particular teacher got recognized on a Facebook page called Yup, That Exists. And this particular teacher every morning rakes the leaves in her schoolyard into a cartoon character, so that every morning her students walk in and are greeted by a different art project.
Oh my God.
I just think that is such a creative thing. Of all the many creative things, this is just one more creative thing. So this is a shout out to all our incredibly creative teachers, wherever you may be. And it just shows you, even this is something that costs her nothing to do and just shows her own personal incredible skills, and the fact that she cares so much for the smile she's putting on the faces of her students every morning.
Yeah.
Shout out to this Japanese art teacher out there somewhere.
Yes, very good. That is, I just think about the kids being so excited.
Oh,
I wonder what she's gonna. They're
excited. Exactly. Every day, right? Every day she's got a new one. So until next time, till next week, welcome to 2024. And this has been episode 216 of Between Two Teachers. Bye-bye.